Hi there, thanks for joining me today. I'm Catherine. I have a flip through of a sweet little journal I actually finished a little while ago, and I'm not sure why I didn't get around to doing the flip through and getting it listed in my Etsy shop, but I'm doing it now. So I think it's rather timely. November is still autumn, and certainly my neighbors to the south are getting geared up to celebrate their Thanksgiving, and I think it's a rather timely little journal. It's not necessarily autumn themed as much as it is forest themed, but you'll see leaves of various colors in it, and I just really like how it turned out. I intended for it to be a naked journal, and as happens with my journals, it's not that naked, but it's still quite naked. If you'll know what I mean when we get into it. So it's a pretty little book. I just thought the cover was so beautiful. I didn't even want to touch it. I didn't do a thing to it except clean it and seal it. So it is the way it is, and I loved the colors. It's sort of a mustard yellow with a beautiful hunter green. And this book is from 1932. Now, the publisher didn't put the year on any of the pages inside, because I did include some of the original pages back into it, but I was able to find out online that this was published in 1932. So it's 90 years old. I guess in 8 more weeks it'll be 91 years old. I'm really happy with how this turned out. It's very simple. It's very roomy for anyone who either wants to collage or wants to write in it or do a whole bunch of everything. I've put a tuck spot on the inside of the front cover, so I can't leave tuck spots empty, so I've just put some tea-dyed papers inside the little tuck spot here, and to get you going. Now, there are 5 signatures in this book. If you hear some noises over there, it's my puppy. And she doesn't know what shh means. So I apologize ahead of time if there's puppy noises. So there are 5 signatures in here. There's approximately 124 pages of varying sizes. Last count there was 124. There could be a bit more. Sometimes I add a few extras in. It has a hidden hollow back spine, and I've put a little bit of lace at the top and at the bottom. And you'll notice that the leaves that were along the side here, they kind of disappeared in a way, because what I did was I created a journaling board for it. So, and the way that works is you flip it over, this side is smooth, and you can put your page down, and you can have a firm surface for writing in if this is going to be a writing journal. And it's even pretty when it's upside down. That side looks nice, but I must say I had fun with this side of the journaling board, with a little toad and a mushroom and some thermometers and just a little bit of collaging. This is the cover from another book, and I painted it and had some fun with some gilding wax and other paints, and kind of made it look like it was weathered paint. And all these leaves and various things I find in thrift stores and from secondhand sources. Even this little bead, this little charm here of an acorn, I just pinned it on there with a safety pin. There's a quail feather buried in and out of the leaves. And I really love the way this journaling board turned out. and I just think it really adds to how pretty it looks if it's sitting on your desk. So I'm going to put that aside for now while we look through the book. So I had a little fun doing some fussy cutting because I couldn't leave the front page blank as is. This is the original first page to the book, and it's nice when I can include that in journals and put them back into the original cover. On the other side, I have written in pencil down here 1932, just so that you know, again, the year of publication. There will be some folios in here from other old books, and whenever possible, I will write in pencil the year of the book, where that page came from. You can't have a nature kind of book without a page from Edith Holden. So there's a page of Edith Holden here. Little tea-dyed paper held down with a vintage paper clip, and I did a little bit of stamping there on it. Again, just to kind of get you going. I played with some ink, just blopping it on, and I like how that looks. The pages are a variety of smooth cut with a blade, and also hand torn and tear edge ruler torn. If the pages are tea dyed, most of them are done by me. If they're very pretty and have lace patterns on them, they were done by Wishes and Weeds. She's very talented in that way. I forgot to measure so that you know the size. This sweet book is about 5 1/4 by approximately 7 1/4. And it's, I know for certain, it's 7/8 of an inch wide spine. Again, more fun playing with splattering ink onto it. Some more Edith. This is just a little flip out with acorns on it. These are vintage Green Shield stamps, and a little tip of the hat to Nick the Booksmith, using butterfly cut in half as a tab that sticks out over the edge, and I really love how that looks, and I learned that from her. This is an antique postcard, and I just thought it had a pretty natural scene with some trees on it of various colors, greens and browns and golds. And this was in an old scrapbook that I found that somebody had been saving their postcards in. And I think it was originally from a sampler, because it says down here $2, and I believe on some of the others it would say $2 per box, 60 cents per dozen. I think that it was someone was saving them from a person who sells them. I think they were samples. And this little pocket created here was from one of the original pages out of the book. So I made a pocket out of it. And this is an original page from the book as well. This folio came from the kind of books that our grandparents, if you're my age, parents and grandparents used to keep in the glove compartment of their car. And you'd write down the date of your trip and where you were leaving from and going to, and the starting and ending time, and you'd write down how much gasoline you went through and what you paid for things. And you kept track of your little trips like that in these little books that stayed in the glove compartment. My parents always had one in the glove compartment. Just for fun, I split this page in half, so I did a stamp on halfway. So it opens there, and it flips over there as well. And then there's a page out of a book of days from Beatrix Potter that I tea-dyed. Let me move this up a little bit. There we go. Some more ledger paper that's been tea-dyed. This is old vintage paper from a children's book of just for drawing on. And again, the other side of those two that I sort of did a Dutch door kind of thing. And this is an original page from out of the book from the text block. I just did a bit of sewing and did an uptuck there. And of course had to put something in it. I forget how old this paper is. This is from a really old book, and of course I'll never find it now, but it was from the 1800s, that page. Another piece of just old vintage paper from the little binders you used to be able to get, so I stamped an acorn on it, and that's a copper paper clip there, and just some old tea-dyed paper with a rough torn edge. I finally made use of this part of one of my Edith Holden books, so I turned it into a tuck spot. This was one of the original end papers that was in the cover of this book, and if it looks familiar, it's because I put the other one on the back of the journaling board, so that I was able to save some of the original papers. Some got torn when I, of course, took the cover apart and removed the text block. But I did a little bit of collaging here. There's a bit from an old dictionary, and I used the definition for forest in behind. If you take a look, you'll see that it says forest back there. And a little bit of sewing. As ever with my sewing, I leave the threads long even though I tie them off. So if you don't like long threads, just trim them down. This flips out, and this is I'm going to grab a piece of paper from the front here because I don't like empty pockets. This is actually a tuck spot, so you can put some paper in there. Now, if you're like me, sometimes when you're out in the woods, you will run into one of these little outhouses. I have a thing for outhouses. I just think they're charming. And I collect things with outhouses on them. And did a little bit of sewing on it and just wanted to find a way to use the original end paper and incorporate it back into the book. And then just some more tea-dyed old paper for writing on. For this page, this was out of a Pitman shorthand book that was from 1940. So I put some vellum paper on it, and that's also from Edith Holden. Just a word snippet out of Edith's book. And that way you can actually write on this vellum, but you can still see that there's the shorthand lesson in behind. This is a page out of a first edition of Fun with Dick and Jane, so 1946. Please don't worry that I destroyed a first edition. It was literally falling apart and in horrid condition, and was quite worthless, according to the research I did. So, but that's a first edition, Fun with Dick and Jane. So that's where it all began, for those fun little illustrations that so many of us from my generation learned to read. The other side of the shorthand book, and a little tip out from some tea-dyed ledger paper. Again, hand torn. Had some fun with the sewing, and this ledger paper was a little too long, so I flipped it up and just made a tuck spot there and did a little bit of stenciling along the bottom there. I had some fun spattering some alcohol inks onto this tea-dyed paper. It still looked a little too blank for me, so I think that was just the little perfect addition. And this is just a leftover end paper from out of, I don't know what book. I go through so many, and pages that can still be used even if it's in another journal. I save them, put them away, and use them again. So, and I like when you can tell that it actually was in another book at some point. So that's why that's there. I made a little pocket out of a tea bag. So it hasn't been used for tea yet, but I tucked in some playing cards, and I like the way those turned out. And this is from a book I have, a Reckoner book from 1944. This is some more of that vintage children's drawing paper. This little page is from a recorder book that I have, and it's from 1912. And again, I wrote it down here so that you'll know. So it's over 100 years old. And it's pretty. Some more of the spattered alcohol ink. It's not one of my journals if it doesn't have a Two Nanas bookmark in it. So there's the two Nanas. The one Nana is my mom. My children knew her as Nana. And this is her mother. I knew her as Nana. She was my Nana. So I made a bookmark. This is a copy. I have the original photo strip because it's precious. This is just a cute little thing that you can use in collaging somewhere in the book. Your Creative Studio were kind enough to send me a complimentary box of nice little ephemera things, so I tucked that there. Again, another tip out because the page was too long, and why waste it? This was from a Czech reconciliation book, so it's been tea dyed, and then it's also been splashed with alcohol ink. A paper clip that I rusted myself, and then again, I tried my hand at stamping, and I did pretty good, I must say. For me, I'm not a good stamper. Page out of a bird book. I did a little bit of collaging here. Like I said, my intention was for this book to be naked, and I just have a hard time leaving books naked. So I just had a little bit of fun. This is out of a book from Joan England, and she just recently passed away, the artist who did these sweet little characters. I used to love these books when I was a little girl, and I always looked forward to when a new one would come into our library at school. And I thought the colors were perfect for this book, greens and browns. This is the other side of that bird book, so I turned it into a tuck spot. Here's what I mean. If there's pretty lace in the tea dyeing, please know that it came from Wishes and Weeds and that Nancy made this. I have no luck, no matter how hard I've tried. But I did do some stamping, and I had luck that time, and so I just put a little tab on it, and it just tucks right in there like that. I used a bit of paper there to sort of hold it all together, and I like the way that turned out. And this is a bit of fabric. It actually, if you look at it closely, it's hard to tell because I ruffled it. Those are pine cones. And down here is just a key on some more of that check reconciliation paper. And on this side, I made a tuck spot with some leaves and a bit of lace, torn up lace. And I can't leave tuck spots empty, so there's some tea-dyed receipts, and one to go to the person and the other side to keep. And this is a faux library card that I created. I aged it and then I typed it with my hand typewriter on there, but I think it turned out cool looking. And then this is an actual old photo, the entrance to Coldwater Canyon. I believe that came from Nancy as well, and with some goodie things that she generously shared with me. And then on the back here, a little bit of Edith and my signature and my little nameplate on the back. So that is my little tiny forest lore book. The one I made before, I guess about a year ago, was much bigger than this. But I really like the size of this one and how it turned out. I think this is a nice size for a journal. It's not too overwhelming. And I like how you can see that little butterfly wing sticking out over the top there, and the little sparkly pine cone down here. So this book will be available for sale in my Etsy shop. I'll put a link down below, so if you think you might be interested in it, you can go over to my shop and take a look-see and see if maybe this is a book that's for you. It should be appearing, if it's not already there, it will be up quite soon. So Etsy doesn't naturally refresh their pages. You have to refresh yourself with your computer. So just keep that in mind. If you're waiting to see it, then make sure you refresh your screen. I will definitely, when I know a specific time, I will notify you on Instagram. So thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this flip through of this pretty little forest lore journal that I created from a 1932 children's school book reader. Take care. Bye.